Welcome everyone back to another episode of LANCESCURV. These topics are necessary, very, very much necessary. We can talk to the cows come home about celebrities who are doing wrong, who are doing drugs, who are doing crazy things. That's always going to be. That's part of the big distraction, because there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that we need to know. Not that I know everything, but we need to talk about things beyond these superficial things, foolishness that's put out here on social media. As these topics come to me, I'll talk about them. I'll let everybody else go and try to get 1 million hits in a day, whatever it is, or try to become more popular. Those things don't even really make me excited. They never did. If you look at the body of work over the last 23 years, it never did. So that being said, I have to go with my feeling. And I want to speak on these things. Just earlier, I was speaking with somebody on how we all say it, we all know it, how social media has changed this world. And really and truly, I can't blame it. It's the people who indulge in it, who lose themselves in it. At first, many of us can remember the days when we would know people who would say, I don't want my business out there like that. I don't talk about me. Don't put my business out there like that. And those are the same people that with every twist and turn, they're doing just that. They're putting their business out there. And we have a lot of people who, not that school is the only place to learn, understood. I mean, you can get a degree in quotology. So going to school doesn't mean that you're smart. You spit back what they told you that you had to remember. And I'm not using that to put anybody down, because to get into certain levels in the system, you have to. You have to be certified, understood. Who wants someone doing something in a very sensitive area, say, for example, the medical field, where they just kind of swung it and read a few books and, hey, go ahead, you're a nice person. You can do open heart surgery. Imagine what kind of world that would be. No, we can't have that. We understand that. But we do have a lot of people who are into the books, into the degrees, and don't have a lick of common sense. Not one lick of common sense. And it's so astounding. So on social media, we have lots of things that we can learn. And some of us have gotten better because of the things that they're exposed to that they weren't exposed to before. You see? So they're a little better. But then it's almost like putting out a net for fishing and you pull in crabs. You can pull in falsehoods. You can pull in things that are made to appeal to you and your personality type, to pull you in, to be in this frenzy because you found your tribe. You know, I was listening to, I'm not afraid to say names, but I'm not into the drama. It's someone who has produced historical collections visually for us and is known for the glossy lips. And he is a very shrewd person, very wise, and thinks on his feet. But it's all about the hustle. Because many people who were formerly pimps or have the pimp mentality know how to pimp something to make that money. And when they have so-called followers, they have learned to focus in on what they need to hear and their shortcomings and their voids and their feelings. And they become the leader of this. They don't really feel this all the way. It's their latest manifestation for the hustle. And they rah, 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 rah. But at the end of the day, there's no unity. It helps to keep us divided because of the lower vibrational feelings that we have for other people of other cultures who may look like us. And it's sad because that's all how they could think. And then you have other factions. You take Caucasians who are right wing and they want Trump and raiding the Capitol and just in a frenzy. And so many of us see ourselves as categories. So many of us see ourselves as, well, I'm checking this box and I'm checking this box, but I'm not part of the other boxes. But they could be partially part of the other boxes. But we've become so divided and compartmentalized in what we know and what we feel we know and what we don't know, but act as though we do know. And now it's chaos across the board. But it seems as though the more successful individuals on that level, they're not working on unity. They're working on dividing. And we know Black people are not where they should be right now. And we can't afford to divide ourselves. But while we can't afford to divide ourselves, the sad part is we can't include everyone because their minds are not right. So while we can't divide ourselves, this may sound funny and contradictory, we have to separate. We need to be unified. Many of us have said it for years until the cows come home. We need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to unify. We need to get together. See, other people don't have to say that, right? It's automatically in them. And I do understand that our minds have been turned upside down and inside out enough that we just can't even sometimes find our way. There are many of us, though, who are thinking right. There are many of us who have detoxed themselves. There are many of us who see beyond the technology and what's going on, but it's almost like having three good players of a basketball team waiting to get other players to play the other team. It's not enough. So we've got to separate, but we don't have to be divisive. But in separating, you can't include everyone just on face value in your tribe. You just can't, because there's too many people who are deceptive, who want to infiltrate your momentum to slow it down. There are many people who come around to question you on your ideology only to rabble rouse and slow you down like a speed bump on the road. They have no intentions of moving forward. They have no intentions of moving upward. Their only intention is to get a rush from slowing somebody else down. So this is why I wanted to speak on, and I'm not trying to be a pastor. I'm not trying to be somebody's preacher, but Proverbs 23, verse 9, don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wisest advice. You know something? It's amazing how we know that book has been twisted upside down and inside out, but there are some truthful things in there. And wisdom will tell you that that is the right way to go. So I'm going to read a little bit about that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to read much. It won't take long. Just want to touch on a few points. Let me take a sip of my lemon water. So good. Yes. Proverbs 23:9. in the Bible advises against wasting one's words on fools, as they will likely reject or despise wise advice. Proverbs 23:9. Do not waste your time rebuking mockers. They will only hate you. This verse emphasizes the futility of trying to correct, or offer advice to those who are unwilling to receive it. Fools or mockers are individuals who scorn and ridicule wisdom, making it unproductive to engage in arguments or attempts to impart knowledge to them. Let's get a few examples. Unresponsive friends. Imagine someone repeatedly giving well-intentioned advice to a friend who consistently dismisses it without consideration. This proverb suggests that at some point, it might be wise to refrain from wasting more words on such a friend or associate. Closed-minded colleagues. In a professional setting, if a colleague consistently rejects wise counsel and mocks good advice, it might be more productive to focus efforts elsewhere rather than continually attempting to help someone who refuses to learn. Parental guidance. Parents may experience situations where their children in a rebellious phase reject wise guidance. Proverbs 23:9 encourages parents to be discerning about when to persist in offering advice and when it may be more beneficial to step back temporarily. In other words, you going out there and don't listen to me. You going out there and let life teach your rebellious backside what the real deal is, and you'll come back and return to accept my advice, one who has lived and knows the principles. Because when we're younger, sometimes we kind of feel invincible. And we kind of feel, hey, I don't have to listen to that. Now, I wanted to include supplementary scriptures, 2 of them, right? Proverbs 9, verse 7 through 9. Anyone who rebukes a mocker will get an insult in return. Anyone who corrects the wicked will get hurt. So don't bother correcting mockers. They will only hate you. But correct the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous, and they will learn even more. This passage reinforces the idea that there are receptive and unreceptive audiences. It suggests focusing efforts on those who are willing to listen and learn, as they will benefit from the corrective or the correction and become wiser. Matthew 7, verse 6. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn you into pieces. This verse from the New Testament echoes the sentiment of Proverbs 23, verse 9, by advising discernment and sharing valuable truths. It encourages believers to be cautious about sharing profound spiritual insights with those who are not receptive or may even oppose them. In summary, Proverbs 23:9 warns against wasting time and energy on individuals who consistently reject wise counsel. It suggests redirecting efforts toward those who are open to learning and benefiting from sound advice. The supplementary scriptures provide additional perspectives on dealing with different types of people and emphasize the importance of discernment in sharing wisdom. In our infancy, I'll say this, we would try to convince people, oftentimes, of something that would be beneficial to them. And we'll talk until the cows come home. We'll even wrestle with them to force the truth down their throat. Hence the photo here. You have a man in a suit. You have a man whose face is painted like a clown. So we know who I'm trying to convey the fool is. But the bottom line is, after a time, if you can't understand that you're wasting your time on a fool, there's no need to have your brow crinkled up and your face contorted to somebody who is obviously rejecting what it is that you have to share. Don't give your pearls to swine. You're wasting your time. How many times have you tried this and walked away drained and resented by the other person who realizes that they don't have no sense because they rejected the wisdom that you have? And it doesn't have to be where you're condescending and I'm going to teach you something, but it may be something practical. Maybe you're telling them to put a little more flour in the cake mix and they don't want to listen to that, but don't understand why their cakes never come out good. But it's not really about the cake. It's really about the voids that the fool feels inside. The voids and the insecurities that they feel inside. And I know there are many people who may not like the platform more, who say, oh, you're talking about me. Why are you throwing off on me? That phrase that you said was for me. All I can say is, don't flatter yourself. I've been doing this for a long time, and I talk about human nature. But the dog that barks and screams is the one that's always hit when you throw the rock to a bunch of dogs in the dark. And I can't worry about that. I can't tiptoe through the tulips of your insecurities. If you're insecure for some reason, then there's a reason why you need healing. And we all need healing on some level. But so many of us will hear wisdom and want to pick a fight. We'll hear some wisdom and reject it because we didn't think that up. And the thing about it, and this is not the Bible talking, I'm just telling you what I've been through. Those who hear your wisdom, because we all can have wisdom, you can be labeled as someone who is developmentally delayed, AKA retarded, AKA the hood way, tarded. And you can open your mouth and say something quite profound, even without really realizing it, but you spoke the answer into a situation. And so for me, there have been times when I had a dilemma or a challenge or a situation that I had to ponder, and I was thinking so deep for the answer. But sometimes the answer doesn't come because you force thoughts. Sometimes you have to lay back, let it go, and it will come to you and wash over you in a gentle way. So there have been times I've been in the Walmart checkout line, supermarket checkout line, and the lady in front of me is on the cell phone, and I'm not ear jacking her, but she may have been a little louder than usual, and what she said was quite profound, and I'm like, aha, that's the answer to my dilemma. There was a situation I was going through many years ago. Nothing bad, but I had to handle it, and I had yet to handle it, and I wanted to handle it in the best way possible. So this is why I used the lady in the Walmart supermarket checkout line, because I can tell through my discernment that she was a wise woman, but she was giving advice to someone. And she was quite loud, not screaming, but loud enough for me to hear. And after I had my aha moment, I had to tap her on her shoulder respectfully. And I said, ma'am, I was not in your conversation. I wasn't trying to hear your conversation, but I couldn't help but hear the wise words that you shared. And I want to thank you for the words that you didn't intend for me. But I want to thank you for giving me the answer to what I was pondering so hard for the last few days. And she smiled. And she told me, she says, you know, God works in mysterious ways. And I got to know her as we walked out to the parking lot and I helped with her groceries. I never saw her again. But she was crucial because I wasn't a fool thinking that I know everything. I wasn't a fool thinking that I'm the end all, cure all, be all to every situation that I deal with. We all need the external, but we don't need all the external because there's a whole lot of fools out here who are propped up because of their ego watching social media and verbally plagiarizing, other people's words. I know there's somebody out there laughing, but it's the truth. They don't even understand what it is that they're saying. But here's the thing. They verbally plagiarize it as though it's their own, but they rejected you when you tried to say it to them. Isn't that something? I see you over there laughing, Gifty. So they know what you're saying is the truth. But here's the thing, when you waste your breath on fools, see, you feel like a balloon that's deflating quick, fast. Your energy is drained. And sometimes in our spiritual infancy, we can be grown, but we can have spiritual infancy. Thank you, bearer of light. I don't always look at the chat room because I try to stay in the zone, but every now and then I see it going up and I got to take a peek. So don't think that I'm ignoring you if you said something. See? Yes, Gifty, drained. And you know what? You didn't do anything good for them because they absorbed nothing that you said, although they may spit it back as their own and take the props for it. But now you're drained. And the person who needs what you have to say, they can't get it because you're so tired and exhausted from within. Isn't that something? So instead of arguing with these people who really have the intent of draining you so you can't shine righteously, not for your own ego, but for the truth that you have in you. You could be a plumber, a master plumber, and have wisdom to share. It doesn't always have to be something philosophical. And you teach the young upstarts the proper way to do some kind of technique or some kind of shortcut that's better in plumbing. It could be electrical. It could be advice on how to talk to your mate. It could be anything. And oftentimes with a good heart, we offer what we know. And most of the time, it's not received properly. Who do you think you are? You don't know me. How do you know that's right? You just want to come over here and preach to me. So, like the parent who has the rebellious child who will not listen time after time, I got to step back. I got to step back and let you fall off the bike. I got to step back. You're trying to walk. I'm trying to guide you. You're going to have to fall and bust your knee and let the pain teach you. Oh, you want to be disrespectful to me? Well, go on out in the street and meet the right one who might bust you in your mouth. I don't want that for you, but you'll think about me, that there's an easier way to deal with things, you see? So sometimes you have to let folks go out into the world and find out for themselves, especially when they're a Billy Badass. Well, let them go and find out that they're bigger and stronger and more intense Billy Badasses out there to deal with you and will straighten you out. I've worked in jails and prisons, and I tell you, there's always one that you do not want to mess with. But until you absorb that wisdom and you go out there and you think that you're ready to do that kind of thing, I'm not even just talking about a physical eat that. I'm just talking about things in general, but I use that analogy. You may get locked up with somebody who will pick their teeth with you, chew you up and spit you out, and don't even give a damn. It's better when you have some type of wisdom in some area. It could be in many areas. It should be where, as the chronological years advance, that your wisdom grows. But oftentimes we find people who have the decor on their wall of the certificates and the degrees, but much of what they teach is ego-based. They may know some things, but it's all about ego. How dare you? I know you don't know it. How do you know what somebody knows? That's why I keep myself on ground level. Don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wisest advice. That's like going out to someone who may be on drugs in the street and you say, here's a couple dollars. Go get something to eat. Do you think they're going to go get something to eat? That would be foolish of you to think so. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your energy. When you see this type of resistance, leave it alone. Oftentimes, you'll have the solution that someone would need from you, and you give it to them, and they reject you. Leave it alone. Go a day, unless maybe you see a child who needs you, or a struggling single mother, or some man who's going through something. You can tell in your heart when someone is ready to receive wisdom after a time. Because those of us who want to share what we know, we're givers. We have giving hearts. I know I have a giving heart, but I ain't a fool. See, maybe I used to be a fool on the level of giving freely to everyone. I've learned that on social media, but I don't do that anymore because you have many takers for different reasons. And I got to know and vet who's around me now, because you never know. There may be somebody coming along just to get on the platform with their Cash App. It may be somebody coming along because they want to be famous. Or maybe they have some kind of status issue. I'm not anybody to feel some status with. I'm just a guy who likes to talk and been talking for so many years and writing and drawing and expressing myself. This is my hobby. I'm not making $1 million from this. This is just what I do. This is part of what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how. I just get these downloads and we talk about things. I derive great pleasure from that. But there are those who come around who take it so serious. How could you, what voids do you have that you have to focus on this? And this is why I say social media. It's how we use it, but it's like a gun. You can go out there and rob people and delete people and unalive them. These are words we have to use instead of saying K-I-L-L. Or you can use it to protect yourself. You can use it for the wisdom that you can extract, or you can fall deeper into decadence that will have your life turned around and years going by. You see, there's a lot of wisdom out here. And in the midnight hour, I'm quite sure the fools look at it and just sneer. And there are people out here who, again, like I said, they will despise you for what you know. Don't argue with them. You have a light, and some people don't. Like they say, that old Almond Joy commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. That don't sound right now, right? Okay. We're all human. We know what that means with Almond Joy, you know. But sometimes you don't feel to give this because you've been drained so much. And once you reveal your depth, you'll have people who will actually come after you. This is why you can't show how much you know. On a spiritual level, on an emotional level, on a mental level, cerebral level, whatever level, physical level, you can't always reveal that because they'll come after you now because they know that you have a light that somebody can use and they don't want anyone else to appreciate you. They don't, and they don't want anybody else to appreciate you because of the light that you have. They'll slander you. They'll come after you. They'll try to beat you to the punch. Say, for example, you move to a new place and they want to go around and tell everybody how bad you are and they're bad people and you can't get around them because these people are haters, but they want to portray and exude the light you have while having. So they work hard to go against your light. And if you kept your mouth shut for a little bit, it's good to want to share the wisdom that you have. It's a very good thing. But to sit here now and just give it out to everybody, you can't do that. I see some big comments coming in, so I'm going to have to highlight it on the screen. And let me see here. Joe E says, when I was out there, when I was panhandling for alcohol and drugs, I'll ask for money to get food, but all I was doing was lying. I learned from my own doings. Kudos to you, Brother Joe E, for being so honest and learning from the experiences. That means you went up as a person. You see what I mean? And I love that. I love your honesty. See? But you learn something from that. And see, we have some people who push themselves up as such high people. Well, I'm the pastor of this so-and-so and so, or I'm a member of the secret handshake group, and we are this and we're that. And they're going down, or they're staying on the same level. And you see them years from now, and they haven't moved up at any point. They're rotten on the inside, eating themselves away because they can't absorb any kind of wisdom from anybody because everything is to reject. And if you stand still in life, actually you're regressing. Some part of you has to be going forward. See, we can go to the gym and work on our bodies and have the best physique. And we get fooled by that. Many of us. Oh, they're so disciplined and they have the drive, and maybe it's an insecurity because I know there's some people who go to the gym and attain great physiques don't see it when they look in the mirror. They see their old self, and that's what they're fighting against. You have some people who work hard to attain status in this world. They work so hard to get it and they get it. But they're the same insecure little boy, little girl that has to throw off on other people if the people don't bow down to that image or gorilla suit that they're hiding inside of. Isn't that something? So really and truly, when you get to a certain level of light and you have light to share, it's almost like someone who's going to the bank to get a loan. And you're the loan officer. You decide whether they get this wisdom or not. See? So you have to vet them. You can go to the bank driving a drop top Rolls Royce, a Bentley, walk in the door and have the biggest jewelry on, alligator shoes and a nice suit, nice timepiece, cologne, expensive, smelling good, and sit down. And you think that you're going to get the loan to buy the bigger purchase of a mansion just because of that, because you look like it? Well, they have to run your credit and see what your credit score is. And they have to see how credit worthy you are by how you've paid your bills in the past, how responsible you've been. And when they pull up a credit score that you weigh more than you're 200 pounds, you weigh more than your credit score. That's bad. I don't think it could be that bad, but it could be that bad. Then they can't give you the loan, no matter what the facade is. So you have to think, look how many people are around you and they give you the facade for you to eat up. and soak in and be deceived. But they rejected wisdom. They don't have any wisdom. They feign light. They act as though they're on your level, and you let them on in. Do me a favor, open the door and let them in. Someone's knocking at my door. Somebody's ringing my bell. Do me a favor, open the door and let them in. And like I always say, we're going to talk some Christian talk now. Oftentimes when you find the devil in your living room, he didn't climb through the window. He didn't sneak through. He didn't get a duplicate key to come in. He rang your bell. You looked at him, you smiled, and you say, come right on in. How many times we've been in bad relationships that were toxic? And I know that no relationship is perfect, but you find yourself saying, how the hell did I get into this situation? It's because you open the door and let them in. Doop, 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 doop. For those who know that song, that was back in the 70s, I think. So we have to be careful who we let in. If somebody rejects wisdom, even if it's from someone else, you got to watch people sometime. If they're going against the right thing and rejecting something that is good for them, that's obviously good for them on a level of advice, that you got to, hey. But again, you have to be covert with your wisdom, because even if you're not trying to share it with somebody who needs it, they will not like you because of what you possess. Don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wisest advice. See, it was something that Dame Dash said many years ago on an interview. And he said he would rather deal with the female energy than the male energy. But I have a little disagreement with that, but I'll say what he said. He said, when dealing with men that you actually help, down the line, they will despise you for helping them. He says it doesn't make sense on paper, but it happens in real life. But now with all of these energies going around where we have feminized men and masculine women, it's about the energy now. It's not just about what you have dangling or between the folds of whatever you got between your legs, right? So when you're in a position to help, you have to even be careful who you help, because down the line, when they get on their feet, they may despise you. What kind of mind is that? So you got the goodness inside of you, and you know that, and maybe we're all not perfect. I understand that, but you got to a certain level of wisdom and understanding, and you want to help the world and help wake people up and give them a leg up. But in a way you can't do it. You got to be like that loan officer. You can't be fooled by the good words that they use to mask in a covert manner their true intentions or their true identity. You can't do it. We're definitely coming to some apex, some pinnacle, some high point right now of change. There's something about to go down. Let me stand up. When I sit down too much, I got to stand up. All rise. Let me stand up. That's that bus driver mentality thing. I've been sitting down as a bus driver so long, coming home and doing shows and sitting by the computer. I'm like, I go to a restaurant sometimes and I'll stand up. Okay, sir? Just tell I got a bad back. I can't sit down. It'll lock up on me. But it's the truth. Positive energy in this world, and the willingness to help, the willingness to elevate, the willingness to give is viewed as a negative these days to many people. And they look for the negative in situations. They see a person who's giving and loving and has knowledge. I mean, I've run across many, but the majority have not been the many. And they always seem to get the crappy end of the stick, demonized and talked about. And you don't even know anything about this person except they wanted to help. So what kind of dormant hell do you have inside of you that you'll pick up and go after somebody who's trying to help you with something? What is that? Or maybe them trying to help you is making you realize how much of a lower level you're on, because you got to look up. But the person's not looking down on you. They're looking down to find where to give their hand to pull you up. You see? And they can be quite the nuisance. They can become so, how could I put it? So caught up in who you are, especially with social media now. It's good to have people follow what you do. I say walk alongside. I say follow to say the internet talk and the social media talk, but I don't really mean follow me like I'm some leader. If I can influence in a good way, and many of you have influenced me in a great way. That's the way I see it. Walk alongside me. If there's something that I do that needs correction, correct me. I'm not against that. But if I catch you red-handed in some foolishness, and I do what I have to do to deal with you, don't get mad. Because they got eyes on the back of my head, on the bottom of my feet, tip of my tongue, butt cheeks got eyes. If I want to see some real good, I sag a little bit and then pull it back up. No, I'm just joking, I don't sag. But you have to keep your atmosphere clear. And again, don't let on to how much you know. Don't let on to how much you know. It was like this 85-year-old man who had a business in Miami. And he was closing his business up. He's 85 years old. And after he closed it up, he was approached by three gentlemen who were probably a third of his age. About a third of his age. They were fit, they were strong, and it was kind of dark. Now, usually this man carries a little heat with him, if you know what I mean, because he carries a good amount of money after a day's take in his place of business. And so he knew what was getting ready to happen, but he paused. He was walking, but he kind of braced himself. And so when the verbals were issued about giving it up, he turned around and looked at them and observed who they were in a calm fashion. And when he didn't make a move to reach to give something up, a pistol was pointed at him. He put his hands up. The guy came closer to get the money. He got a hold of the pistol, threw a right cross now, 85 years old, and knocked the man out. The other two didn't have a pistol, but they figured that was a fluke, and it happened so fast, so they went after him too. Well, they ended up being knocked out by an 85-year-old man who was a former pro boxer and martial artist and still kept himself in great shape. But they didn't know that. If they knew that, they probably wouldn't have tried him, or maybe they would have shot him. So if he let people know how deep he was into keeping himself fit at 85, and he couldn't move like he was when he was 25 or 20, but these guys obviously didn't take good care of themselves, and he was that much better. He wasn't afraid of combat. He wasn't afraid of getting in the trenches, but you don't always have to show your strengths all the time because you'll be despised for it. Or you'll let them know how much and they'll come ready the next time and just shoot you outright and your body's down there laying dead. But he was a wise man. And I sat and talked with him while he was in jail. I think one of the guys hit their head on the ground and died. So it was a case. Eventually, after the facts came out, they let him go because the other lawyers are trying to frame it a different way. So you have to be very careful on who you speak to. And you know, the bad part about it is sometimes you're speaking to a fool and don't even know it. I'm not calling certain people fools, right? But how many of us in different situations, like we're talking to somebody with sense, and we realize that the person was out of their mind? There was a guy who called me a couple of years ago. I say maybe like about 2017. Dog, we're going to 2024. We're talking about something almost 7 years ago. Well, he wanted to speak on the fact that he claimed to be a targeted individual. And there's some that are convincing and some, I got to say, that are cray-cray. Because now you have this category to cover your paranoia, to cover what you're seeing. Some people are, because the government is very vicious. I understand that. But this dude talked to me for a little while on the phone. I said, okay, I'll talk to you. Let's see what you got. I'll do a little interview. We'll talk. And he made sense for 10 minutes. And he had to go abruptly. And he said he was going to call me back in 5 minutes. He called me back in 3 minutes. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. You know, they're following me. So I had to shake him. I said, okay. I've learned not to even inquire. I'll let it just come out easy. You know how it is when the parents tell the child, don't go to the bathroom to do number 2 and force it. Just let it ease on out. If it don't fit, don't force it. Just relax and let it flow. So I let him relax and let it flow. So he started speaking about how they're following him. And I said, after a while, I said, if I may ask, do you know who it is that's following you? He said, yeah, Ronald McDonald. Okay. I invested a little bit of time already. Let's see where this is going. He says, you got to hurry up and get me on the interview. You got to get me on the interview right now, because I'm looking up at this guy. There's like about 50 Ronald McDonald's floating around, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And he starts crying, screaming. I said, okay, it's one of those. I had another time when a guy had called me, and he was talking normal, and he kept talking, and he started talking faster and faster, and he didn't miss a word. That's why I say on social media, you got to be careful who you talk to. You just never know. You got to vet them. You got to be that loan officer. You can't give them what they claim they need, because they could be so deceptive. And so that's the order of the day. Be what you're not really. Put out there something different. But when you hear real wisdom, you have to reject it. There was an old game called Battleship. And in Battleship, there was a board that you had that folded up where the other person couldn't see it. It was like a laptop, right? And where the keys are on the laptop, there were holes. And the holes were designated by numbers and letters. So you had A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on and so forth. And you had B1, B2, B3. So you had to call out where you think the opponent's battleship was. So if you had, it was always a straight line. So if you had your battleship that took up 5 spaces, because they had some longer and some shorter, and you can put them vertical or horizontal on the board. So if I said C3, the other person would have to say if it was a hit, because that's basically you calling out, you dropping bombs on the opponent's board. So either it had to be C4 or D3 or B3. So you take another shot, boom, C4, miss. So now it had to be B3, C3, C4, whichever. So you had to use your brains. So some of these people who bring this negative energy to you, they're using their brains because they're resentful of you, again, because they can see your light. See what I find with people who have a light in them, a positivity? They have that thing where other people say they're going places. They have this special quality. See, they can see it. But oftentimes you can't when you possess it. You see what I mean? So you got to work on that. You got to work on that. I remember if I was somewhere and I had a flashlight with me in a dark place, I wouldn't always shine the light because I'm revealing to the person in the darkness where I am. I'd shine it a little bit. Okay, I know I can walk here. Here's clear. I turn the flashlight in on me, on my stomach to hide the light. Then I flick it out a little bit more. Okay, I can go further. But you can't just keep shining light. You know what happens when you put the floodlight on in the backyard at night in the summertime? You got all kind of things out there flying around. Insects that look like something from another planet. Your little kid got to go out there and take out the garbage. You got to run past these things flying around. So when you have a light, you attract certain people. You attract them. You're going to do it for whatever reasons, because see, your light makes them see themselves, what they're not doing or what level they're not on. So you must be destroyed because they're comfortable on their low vibration. So when you waste your breath on that despise the wisest advice, you become their enemy and you think you're doing something nice. No. Yes, oftentimes it is, but be the loan officer with your energy. Vet the people that you talk to. Make sure that you're clear on who you're speaking to. And you'll find yourself very much alone and enjoying it. Because I was in a conversation earlier, and we can explain things in different ways. See, when you're at that picnic, you get to the picnic or the barbecue or the backyard picnic or in the park, ain't no bugs around, right? Nothing's flying around you. But whip out the food, whip out the fruit, whip out something to eat, and here come the flies, here come the bugs. Share your wisdom, and here come the naysayers. Well, why didn't the bugs come around before? Because you didn't have the food out. They want to eat up the wisdom in a way not to absorb to make themselves better. They want to eat it up and get rid of it. They're probably going to spit it out. Or they want to annoy you to run away from the food, which is the wisdom, by aggravating you, by pulling you into a lower vibrational argument, which you are to avoid those things. Every bad text or bad email or bad word in a chat room or phone call or voicemail, it doesn't always deserve a response. Because oftentimes when people express themselves in a disgruntled manner, they're telling on themselves. They're speaking out and telling you exactly where their state of mind is. And for you to respond, it makes no sense. You're wasting your time. So when you go to the picnic, you got to realize the flies are going to come. Sometimes I'll hold my little veggie burger in my hand and just wave it, just keep moving. And you shouldn't have to go through that. But that's how it is with these forces and these energies out here. Nuisances, like a firewall on a computer to keep certain viruses from getting in. You have to have a spiritual firewall around you when you possess great wisdom. If you don't, these low vibrational flies will want to make you waste your breath, pick a verbal fight with you when you could be sharing your wisdom with someone who needs it, or going into meditation to enhance the wisdom that you have, because you become a target. You're like the guy on the football team who has the football. The whole other team is coming after you. They're coming after you. If you work on a job where people are not taking care of themselves and you choose to eat a certain way, they're not going to be your friend. You're going to upset them. They're going to come up with all types of personality traits for you. Look at them showing off, eating a salad and eating a piece of lean turkey. I don't care. I'm going to order that pulled pork sandwich, and I'm going to get the sugary Coca-Cola and the macaroni and cheese. I don't care, and I'm getting ice cream after that. What kind of venom is that? Did they say anything bad to you? No, but the wisdom they have for themselves to eat properly upsets you because you know you ain't living right. Huh? It's crazy. And they look for ways to be envious, sizing you up. You know, when you go on these jobs especially, and I've said it before, many of us who are givers and believing the Colgate smiles, in order to feel as though we belong or to make people feel good that we're there, everybody's smiling. And you get fooled by that because the first 2 weeks on the job, unless you're wise to that, but you don't know about this thing, I'm not seeing you that way now, but they'll start asking questions. Oh, do you have children? They want to know if you're sexually active or have a man or a woman. You know, that's what it is. Where do you live? What side of town do you live on? And if you tell them, they say, oh, they live in the hood. But there's nothing hood about you. You see what I mean? You give up more information and they formulate who you are and attack you accordingly thereafter, after what they got in their fact-finding mission, because it's not just one person asking you, it's somebody else, but you don't know who's cool with that other person, and they share information. Just like when I worked in a jail and the prisons and the inmates, and I hate to use that word, right? But it is what it is. One will ask you a question, one will overhear you on the phone talking about something. The other one may know something about you from the outside world. And before you know it, the whole facility knows so much about you because each person took a little piece and compared it, because guess what? They have nothing but time to talk about you. I've heard it. You sitting up in the day room, I'm checking out a conversation going on 10 feet behind me, but I'm talking to the dudes in front of me. I got that ability, right? It's like my ears like satellite dishes. I can zero in above the fray and hear what I want to hear. So there might be a new corrections officer that comes into the facility, and the corrections outfits are not made to be flattering to the female form, but there's some sisters that got such devastating shapes. Even that dowdy little outfit, the pants that they wear, you ain't hiding nothing. Got that little waistline and them hips, you ain't hiding nothing. So visually, these guys take an interest to that new female officer who's quiet and guarded. So there may be one from another facility or another area who has a lighter custody level, who's allowed to take a job per se in the prison or the jail, and he can sweep, and he's a trustee. He may have a yellow jumpsuit on as opposed to one that's blue. And so he can move within a certain area for so many hours. If you need him to come clean up some vomit or some feces or just something that fell on the floor, that's what he's supposed to do. So here he is sweeping near you in the garbage can, and taking his time because you're not watching him. And you're talking about the Toyota Camry that you have, and it's been giving you too many problems. And you're complaining to the person at the dealership, and you're telling, they giving information, and they're steady sweeping and listening. Well, can you bring the car in tomorrow morning? Now, the inmate doesn't hear that, but you say, sure, I can bring it in tomorrow morning. What part of the city you coming from? I'm coming from the east side. I live at the so-and-so, whatever. Now they have that information. And they don't hear anything else, but now they know the area you live in, and now they know that you drive that Toyota Camry. And they go back. And so you walk by as that female CEO, and the guys are ogling you. Oh my God, look at that shape. Yeah, I heard that she drives the Toyota Camry and she lives on the east side. Yo, I heard that she live on the east side, man, too, right? And I happen to know where it is because my sister lives in the apartment complex where she lives. Because she told me there was a CEO there that got this shape, and this girl was attracting everybody. And so they put two and two together. They find out your car, where you live, your address. They know all about you. Same thing on these jobs. It's human nature when you're the mystery person. And then when you have something going on beyond the norm, say, oh, yeah, they're kind of smart with this thing. I saw this book that some advanced engineering. What are they doing here? This is a fast food joint. And it may be where there's no jobs that you can get. You're new to the city. You got to get something to get a little extra cash flowing a little bit. And you carry yourself with a certain presence and dignity. So they know that you're overqualified for this job, but you didn't really say that when you got job. So now you're different. They come after you because you have a wisdom that they don't have. It may not be where it's an area of expertise that they want to be into. They may never do it. They just want to work and just pay and just complain, oh, I had a white man this and I'm on this job, whatever. But they never paid attention in school, whatever it may be. But today, the haters outnumber the ones who are trying to live righteous and ascend to another level. And when you're around these types of people, you don't know who's who. So you got to be careful who you give advice to who you share wisdom, because oftentimes deep down, you're going to get that response and you may not even hear it, but they're going to turn around and say, who do they think they are? When they should love on you and appreciate you and embrace you for even wanting to share something that can uplift their life. Proverbs 23, verse 9. Don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wisest advice. You have to fight them. Why? You're just draining yourself. Keep your wisdom to yourself until the Spirit tells you, I can share this with this person. It hits you sometime, I don't know, instantaneously, and you know you can do it, right? And sometimes you have to take your time and vet them. And they'll tell you after you see that they're worthy, you knew I was going through this. Why did you take so long to share this information with me? Because see, they don't understand the pitfalls of embracing someone who's not right with themselves on the inside to receive great wisdom. Anytime someone shares wisdom with me, I am so appreciative of them because I know the benefits. They got this term called friends with benefits. What benefit? You can just use them as a glorified friction provider and that's it. There's no closeness, there's no connection. The real friends with benefits are the ones that can enhance your life by their mere presence, can help you to ascend just by being near you. There's some people that carry an energy about them that just to sit next to you, it comes off of them and onto you and you feel different. It's the spirit. And while most know that they're religious, doing the same thing over and over again, you're not religious if you wipe your backside when you go do number 2. That's something you got to do. And being spiritual doesn't mean that you have good energy. It means we're all spiritual. Even the so-called animals in the so-called wild, they navigate effortlessly. I'm amazed at what's crawling around out there at nighttime up here in the mountains. And they usually don't have a problem because they have instincts, AKA a higher sense of spirituality. We have lit up streets and so-called order, and we act just as crazy in a system that is not supposed to be wild. It's called civilization, but are you really civilized? Can you go out in the woods at night naked? Animals are naked. Walk around naked. Mosquitoes out there, snakes out there. You have instincts to keep you away from those things, but most of us don't use it. We're equipped from birth. And the moment that we come into this world, something else is competing to take our instincts away. Something else is put on us called the so-called educational system. And even parents who are misleading their children because they don't know. And there's always that strange person that appeals to you when you have a higher level within inside of yourself, and they don't speak the way other people do, but you find yourself gravitating toward them. They speak a language that pulls you to them. We're not talking about anybody grooming you or seducing you, but someone who has a light inside of them, and they can see that you're coming around them because of that light, and they'll start dropping little tidbits on you to see how you respond. And more they know and see that you're ready for more. And you two start hanging together. Other people, oh, what's going on with them too? It could be a man with a woman. And there's nothing sexual going on, but we equate that when you see two members of the opposite sex. We don't understand that there's different levels of love and appreciation. And yes, it could be sexual too, and it could be highly spiritual. We don't know. There's different combinations out here, y'all. Every lock doesn't have the same combination to open it. Even we don't know what it is sometimes. I just got to be around this person. There's something about them that's so refreshing, and it doesn't drain me down. And the same thing I said about food when we were speaking about childhood obesity, that everything you eat has an effect on you, whether you know it or not. And in that way of thinking, there is no neutral. There is no neutral. You're either going up or you're going down. It's either bringing you up or taking you down. There was a bodybuilder many years ago named Mike Mensa. He passed away. Very smart bodybuilder. I never get a chance to talk to him, but I was attending a bodybuilding competition called the Night of the Champion. I wasn't in it. I was 15 years old then and afforded to luxury through connections to see these guys. And this guy was on the elevator next to me, and there was a few of my friends with me. And he was strange acting. I was like, that's Mike Pence. Look at him. You know, he was in a rush. I remember him saying, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Right? I'm like, yo, look at this guy. This guy's huge. But he never had any respect for nutrition. Because as much as he was a smart guy as far as training is concerned, because he didn't believe in being in the gym 2 or 3 hours. He trained and he's out 10 minutes. It worked for him, I guess. But in his writings, which I used to study these guys and what they said, and that's how I learned a lot about nutrition, not because bodybuilders know everything, but it stoked an interest to read books on real nutrition and see how it affects the body. So he said, a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. And I had to get into this, and I'm like, okay. He says, it doesn't matter if it's a calorie from white sugar or a calorie from a freshly squeezed orange and orange juice or the orange. And I had to beg to differ with that. I was like, no way. The calorie or the calories from sugar in equal amounts to the orange, it doesn't bring any nutrition. But see, this is the mind of one who, maybe their ancestors came out of the caves. They couldn't see the spiritual element of food, how it affects your moods, how it affects your body, how the faster digesting foods need to be put down first so it can just go through, and the slower things take their time. People don't think about that. Now, this is not a nutrition lecture, but since I went that far, I want to say this. Think of your digestive system as a highway. Think of your digestive system as a highway that has one lane. Now, some of these foods you might not eat. I'm just using this to prove a point. You know that a spoonful of applesauce is going to digest quicker than a well-done cooked steak. So if you have food laid out in front of you, in order to, and this is me saying it, right? I'm not saying I got this from anywhere else, but this is something that I've found to be true. If you're going out somewhere and you're eating, eat the thing first to avoid digestive trouble that moves through you the fastest. There won't be any traffic jams because it's free and clear. If you eat the steak last, it can take a sweet time to digest, and it will. It's going to take a long time to digest. That's why I wouldn't suggest eating that. I'm just using this as an example. Because if you eat that first, and then you put the applesauce behind it, just like that single lane road with a slow 18-wheeler in front of you, you got to drive slower. And you're trying to get around it. It's going to cause problems in getting you where you have to go. So this is why with people, you got to figure them out. You got to figure out where they really stand, because you'll have a verbal traffic jam of an argument, or they'll resent you silently, and they'll feign being on a higher level, but they'll be resenting you the whole time. How many of us have felt or found that out? They're around you skinning and grinning, but they're resentful of you because of your allegiance to what's right. And there may be somebody involved that the whole job, that a whole bit of employees talk so bad about, but you can see the righteousness inside of them, and you stand your ground, even though you hang because you have to in the break room with those who come against them. And then when you speak with a wise tongue, they don't like you because they know that they're wrong. It's just so much to this life. But the thing is that these are lessons well learned. And you may go biblical and look at some things, and it's true. Would you go out and want to convince somebody who doesn't want to do certain things that would be beneficial to them, and you know it would be, and you really care for them? You're not preaching to them. They'll say that, but you're not preaching to them. Sometimes you go into the gym. Doesn't mean the gym's a good place either. It can be very toxic, and we can go for the wrong reasons. But if you're sincerely seeking to improve yourself on a physical level, and you have someone who is close proximity, and you're trying to encourage them, and they reject it, leave it alone. Let them catch that first heart attack. Look, they'll be looking to change up after that. Oh man, you know, I always thought you was a nutcase. Always, man, wait, can I come to the gym with you? I gotta work a little slowly now because I had a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like the parent with a rebellious child, sometimes you have to let life kick their behind for them to accept your wisdom. And again, we're not saying wisdom is some pumped up, narcissistic, condescending kind of thing, because that's not wisdom. The delivery is wrong. We have people like that who want to see themselves as superior. I'm not saying the people who are loving and want to share wisdom to help people out, but we have people who have wisdom who have a jacked up personality behind it. And they want to see themselves as superior. And that person who's receiving this may get turned off, and you come now. You don't know them, but they think you're just like that other person. That's why you got to do it. Time released. Like the vitamins that you got to pay more for. Well, I ain't going to pay more for them, man. That's just about time release, man. I'll get this vitamin C right over here, 1,000 milligrams, right? It's the same 1,000 milligrams as when it says time released. When really you're foolishly wasting your money, because when you take that vitamin C or whatever vitamin that it may be that's water soluble into your system and it's not time release, all of it goes through your system quick. And if you end up absorbing 100 milligrams of that 1,000 milligrams, then that's good, but you wasted more in your urine. So if you spend a little more to get the time released, that releases slowly in your digestive system. You might absorb 800, 900, maybe almost 1,000 that's there, but it won't go to waste. Saturate your system. So it's your delivery also. And when you're speaking to people who may even want to hear what you have to say, you can't let it all hang out. Give them a little bit and leave them coming for more. If you know you're going on a trip for a week, let's say 2 weeks, and you have lots of plants around your home in pots and even in your yard, and it's not really the rainy season anymore, it's the dry season or a drier season. Do you go to those pots of plants and pour 2 weeks worth of water? You'll drown it. You'll maybe offer some money to somebody who you can trust around your premises and say, if you can go a little bit every day and water these plants, you won't drown them. Sometimes we can be too strong in what we share. Again, delivery. Be that person who's like the time release vitamin. You see? But I'm going to wrap this down. I wanted to speak about that. I do have some other clips that I want to upload, and I can't guarantee if I'm coming back later, because later for me is it's 8:46 now, and I have to say I've been up from 4 o'clock this morning. But I'm going to try. There'll be something else coming, you know? But it's quality over quantity, always. But if you have quality and have quantity, that's good too. But I want to thank you all for feeding into me. I want to thank you all who have had wisdom to share with me and constructive criticism to share with me, and I accept it all, and it makes me better, and I understand there'll be no resentment from me for you helping me to grow. And I'm not too much of a pompous, self-centered individual to say, oh, no, I'm the one who knows everything, because, you know, on social media, we have so much of that. That's not me. I've grown so much and was showed so much, and things that I probably couldn't comprehend. Now it's been broken down to me and saying, oh, now I understand. And that's helped me as a person. Hence, better quality expressions when I do speak. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Yes, thank you all so much. And what can I say? I'm going to sign off. I just want to say how much I appreciate you all, how much I love you all who help each other. There's people out here on this platform who have helped each other. I love to see that. If it's not me helping, you know, I don't mind. I like to see that. Wow. That means you met on a platform and you met each other and you helped each other. That makes me feel good. Maybe I'm getting a residual blessing because of that. You know what I mean? Like, it really blows my mind. But anyway, I got a few little things to do on the platform. I'm going to be coming up with some ideas, maybe a recording, maybe a shorter live, but always every day we're going to come out here. We're going to vibe on different things, but don't be the clown, and don't be the person who's arguing with the clown, AKA the fool, because the bottom line is that you got to realize when you argue with a fool, the person who's observing your argument can't tell the difference, and it makes you look like a fool. And you'll be wasting your precious wisdom on someone who rejects it, and you'll be wasting it away from somebody who needs it. Much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. Peace.